All right, y'all. We are live. We are live. Been shooting the breeze a little bit, just in case you don't know. Welcome to Talk That Talks, Parent Baby Diary of a Lady Band Director. I am Diary of a Lady Band Director, Krystal Williams. I'm not from Baltimore, so I'm gonna start with that. So y'all better stop saying I'm from Baltimore. I'm not from Baltimore. Stop it, people. I am from PG Pretty Girl County, Maryland. I just live in the Baltimore metropolitan area. I live in Baltimore County. I don't even live in the city, y'all. I'm bougie. I can't live in the city. Y'all see the news? I don't do like that. So, without further ado, this is Off the Cuff. It is a spinoff of Diary of a Lady Band Director, where you get the unfiltered, raw side of our guest today, band arrangers. And I don't want to call you marching band arrangers because I don't want to limit you like that, because if you're a ranger, you're a ranger. I mean, it don't really matter what it is. And so without further ado, we got Cybil Haskins, the Dash Clark, aka from North Carolina Central. Yeah, here we go with the bird.
Hello, Eagle Pride Amplified.
And we got arch nemesis, Aaron Campbell. Aaron is the arranger at North Carolina A&T. I was supposed to be an Aggie. Roosevelt Pratt didn't get his way. But welcome to the show, man.
Thank you very much for having me. Aggie Pride.
Oh, Lord, here we go. And Doc Chism. You the doc of the house today, so you got the extra information that we look for. Rodney Chism, introduce yourself, sir.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Thanks for having me. I appreciate that, Krystal, and everything that you do with this. This is a great thing. It's an honor to be here.
Dope. Then we got Kieta Colston. I have seen your name before I even knew who you were. I would see. Listen, I'm gonna date you a little bit. I'm gonna talk about Finale Showcase. That's the first time I think I saw your name somewhere. Yeah, I'm old. Don't do that.
Showcase. That was a minute ago.
I know. I'm old. I already said that. And this was your first year teaching, though, right?
Yes, it was.
Well, you survived. You here, and your hair ain't gray. So welcome to the show. What school are you returning to that school this year?
More than likely, yeah. I'm at Wooddale High School in Memphis, Tennessee.
Okay.
Tell them where you from, though, Kieta. Tell them where you from, though.
From as in what?
Your city. Tell me your city. Tell me your city where you from.
Technically, I'm not from Memphis, but I've lived in Memphis
you got the DJ scratching on your microphone. Check your mic. Yep, you snap, crackling, popping. Hey, if you gotta bounce back out and come back in, I got you. All right, we got Sensei himself. I'll let you say why we call you Sensei if you feel like sharing. But this is my good bruh. This is the Warren Shaw, the Godfather.
Oh, you are far too kind, Krystal. You are far too kind. But yes, my name is Warren Shaw. I'm assistant director of bands and chief arranger at Clark Atlanta University. I'm going into year 25. So yeah, I have been at this for a minute. But I'm glad to be here.
That's what's up. We need a lot of the old school and the new school mixing, because what we about to talk about today is about some of these arrangement daddies. Ooh, y'all know, this topic. I think I've had this conversation with at least everybody on this screen. in some way, shape, or form. And all right, I'll just get right to it. This is the first question. Y'all ready for the first question? First question is, what really grinds your gears about arrangements? And we could do the church finger, y'all, but just know that you could be as raw and real as you feel comfortable being on off the cuff. Aaron, you have the flow.
Yeah, so I'm gonna refer to your post about rhythms. Now this is seeing rhythms. It's oh my gosh, it's the first thing I have to address. This is most often when I'm teaching or you have student arrangers, I'm not really seeing seasoned or veteran arrangements like that. I haven't seen them, but yeah, that's one thing that really gets me. But that's really more on the student side. That's really kind of those that are kind of learning. But what really grinds my gears about arrangements is, one, if I can't hear the melody, or two, the arrangement is so distorted I can't tell what the song is. If me as a band head have to figure out what this song is, y'all don't know if you did your job, and the people in the stands ain't gonna know what you just wrote. So that really grinds my gears. If you tell me it's this song, I'm expecting to hear certain things. If I can't hear that, you can take liberties, but nah. If I can't understand if certain things, elements like that melody or the chord structure generally is not there, yeah, that really grinds my gears.
Well, let me piggyback on that, because this question is kind of twofold for me. Like I have to go with the rhythm thing too. There's a such thing as syncopation, but I've learned that if you can't see every count on that paper, then it's not, to me, it's a pet peeve. One habit that I learned from the late Rome Hudson was, you see crazy rhythms like that, you get that arranger to clap that measure out, or you get some printer paper or something and write those crazy rhythms out and then have them to look at it and clap it. 9.9 out of 10 times they can't do it because they use some computer generated program versus knowing the actual basic fundamental knowledge of rhythms, right? And then another thing is when arrangers becoming unrealistic with orchestration and trying to reinvent it. What I mean by that, by playing all these extra high octaves and taking instruments out of their tessitura when they writing for long period of time, you have to be considerate in understanding a person's skill. Just because a trumpet can hit a super G, or a baritone can hit an A flat to a C, or a mellophone can hit C to the F above the staff, but they actually have time to sit back and think, pause, wait on the note, set their armature, and then play it. So that's all that I kind of pet peeves. And then there's one last one. You heard me say something about reinventing orchestration, taking instruments out of the tessitura. I hate to see when they reorganize orchestration. What I mean, they will put trumpet tubas in the range of third trumpet. They'll put baritones in the range of second trumpet. They will put mellophones in the range of first trumpet. Trombones are usually playing in second and third inversion. Trumpets are playing clarinets and piccolo parts. Percussion back there turning up heads because they just beating. And the woodwinds are just in the room. Re-even orchestration. Building house on the cloud. That's like the biggest rhythms and poor orchestration.
I think I want to piggyback on that one. We all definitely have said rhythms, but the orchestration piece is what really bothers me. A lot of what I see from the younger arrangers, they tend to write for what they hear maybe their favorite band do, but not necessarily what you've got in front of you. And that's my biggest pet peeve. If you know you've only got 3 trumpets and they can't play past the G above the staff, why are you trying to write for a style like SU when they're going to play that super G or that super C? that is a pet peeve of mine. Just write for what you got, not for what you want to think that you hear.
That right for what you got.
Exactly. So
it's Sunday. I'm about to shout on that word.
I guess everybody's piggybacking. So I'll piggyback off of the great Warren Shaw. One of my pet peeves, in addition to the how the rhythms are written out, is the lack of concern for the ensemble that's playing the arrangement. Oftentimes we think anybody's arrangement will work with any band. Just because it sounded good with another doesn't mean it'll sound good with yours. So just knowing their instrumentation, their strengths, their weaknesses, the lack of concern for woodwinds is almost like a sexist thing. Like they just sometimes give woodwinds what trumpets have or what this person has, but they actually can really hold their own and add quite an icing to the cake. And my other thing is just maintaining the integrity of the original song. Let's say a famous artist hears a song, which they do these days, and they end up coming to the school and want to perform with you. Well, they're not going to come if they don't recognize it. So just keeping the integrity of the original song as well.
I think that's real important. Kind of that integrity, like you arrange the song. Like we can arrange it so much, we can rearrange it till it's not even like the song. Like you pick that song, to me, you pick that song for a reason. And you lose that reason when people can't identify it. Like, Doc Chism said, you can't recognize it. And, to the performer, even for like, I know everybody dreams of writing. This is my pet peeve. I'm gonna piggyback on that, right for what you got. In most cases, people are writing for students, like public school students. Like there aren't too many HBCU band arrangers. Like there ain't too many errands out there that's the sole chief arranger. So most of the time we writing for our schools. Like that's why I learned how to write. I mean, I had an interest in it, but I learned how to write because one, I wasn't paying nobody for what I can do. Two, I know my group. And when you know your group, you know what they can't do. That's why, my pet peeve is when people try to give me arrangements. And I'm like, who'd you write this for? You didn't write it for my group. I got 3 trumpets this year. And, 3 trumpets, having everybody scream sometimes is a disadvantage because you take them out of that territory. Like Doc Chism said, you take them out that range. And then if they got to read rhythms, if they read in rhythms, we're going to tabernacle there a little bit. If they reading it, they can't learn it quick because you got to rope daddy them to death. You got to clap it out. I'm not a damn choir director. I didn't get hired to sing and clap and shuck and jive on a podium for you to learn. Like if I'm doing my job, it should be clear from my orchestration. So my pet peeve really is orchestration in general. Like taking care of what's on the paper. Like anybody get a chart from me, it looks like it got printed from J.W. Pepper. Like I'll sit there and play around with crescendos until they all line up. Like I'm really, really, really meticulous about it looking, because I feel like kids take it seriously when it looked like music.
One of the things I do, and I don't know, I think Warren may be kind of guilty of this too. When people actually get arrangements from me, I like to send them the actual finale file that I have. I don't actually send the actual what I actually arranged, because when people are asking for it, I do ask what are your strength sections and what are your weak sections and things like that. And I would kind of cater, but I would just kind of do the song and I just kind of send them the actual finale file. So if they need to make any alterations to it, they can to fit their ensemble, So
yeah, I'm definitely quick to do that. Even though I do use Sibelius, I'm the oddball. Don't judge me.
At least it's not musical.
Touche. But yeah, I do definitely send at least an XML file to where they can make their changes necessary in finale, because everybody is not going to have the vision of what I may have originally thought for this particular arrangement. And especially if you, like you said, if you only got 3 trumpets, I'm not going to, I may have written it in 3-part harmony, but you may only need 1 part. So I want to make sure that it's going to be to play best to your strengths and weaknesses?
I think for me, like one of my pet peeves, other than the rhythms, I gotta say using the right chords. I've heard a lot of bands write something and they're playing the wrong chord, and you can hear it because it just doesn't fit the chord structure.
Let me jump on that real quick. So there's this, I had mentioned that before, and there's this Richard Smallwood had posted something about that very same thing. Like I don't know, I had seen that quote. He said something.
It was total praise.
Yeah, about people send him total praise all the time. And he says he automatically gets turned off when people sing and play the very second chord on the word I. So when people get that chord wrong, he stops listening. And I am all about, like Cybil said, integrity, maintaining the integrity of the song. And that includes the chord structure, like you said. And so, you have to really, you can't just go, all right, major, minor, major, minor. There's much more to chords than just, major and minor chords. And that's one of my things as well. I'm not as vocal about it because I think that, sometimes we just decide, well, it's an arrangement, so I'm going to take my liberties. But trust, when I'm putting down on the paper my draft or what it's going to be, the right chords are down there because I feel like, again, that makes part of the song, making the song sound like what it's supposed to be.
That integrity piece. But I'm a go play devil's advocate and go opposite from, like basic tonal harmony. Yeah, I said the devil's word. You talk about tonal harmony, substitutions, y'all. Sometimes we do too much. Like I use that book for my students, so I live by it. Like if people don't know, I teach orchestration now, so I have to show rules first. I teach them how to break them too, once they know the rules. But there's rules to this shit, and we just out here putting chords down because we be changing keys, like don't even know we done modulated. And we like, we ain't even in D no more, you know that, right? Or when I look at a score and the key that's there is not the key it's in.
Oh yeah.
You got sharps and flats living together. Where they do that at? Like I call them bastard child arrangements, where they done crept across the creek to somebody else's house. Like you can't have like sharps, know your inharmonics. Know that you can't. You in the measure, it was G sharp. Now is is A flat in the same measure. Like, nah, know what direction you're going in. That's
maybe in their mind they think they doing jazz extensions.
See, we some nerds now. We about to be a nerd. Listen, I don't care. We just talking to each other. That is good to my soul, so I don't feel crazy when I see some of this stuff, and I keep my mouth shut because the social medias. Sometimes when you talk about it, where your fire arrangement at? Where your stuff at? I've been arranging for 25 years, y'all. I think I'm good. Like I done sold the big scores, past the marching band room, like to cantatas and full orchestration and strings. Like I think I got it. I think when we talk about something, we not coming from a place of everything's a place of hate. I feel like. Do y'all feel like everything? Like when you critique something with education behind it, it's not taken as constructive, it's just taken as you hating and you wish you were them. Like I hear that all the time.
Definitely.
I agree too, because I'm just being transparent. I was on that side at one point, where my arrangements were getting marked up, by the director. I'm thinking I'm all this and that, getting older and realizing he was right. You know what I'm saying? So still got to have your humility as well.
Raise your hand if you done had one of your arrangement daddies marked up like a bad English paper. Thinking about it.
Away, but
that's part of the trenches.
Peter, listen, I'm gonna tell you, it's really good for you. It don't feel good. Send your arrangement to somebody you admire, like somebody you know that is like really, really solid. Like just one, because they give you like tricks to the trade too. Like they give you like some secrets. Like I learned that you get on that good contrary motion, when you really learn how to use some good contrary motion, and you learn foreground versus background, and you find yourself working less hard when somebody critique yours, because you sometimes are overwriting. People either overwrite or underwrite in the beginning. There's like a middle ground. I'm telling you, just send it to somebody. You ain't gotta tell, you ain't gotta share the results of nobody. But that's why, hats off.
Trust me, I've had all my college directors look at my arrangements. So, and I think the person I probably went to most was the people I went to most was probably Brian Simmons and Ketcher Taylor. And even if you know Ketcher Taylor, he's gonna tell you the truth.
Oh yeah. I mean, hats off. The Southern cats are brutally honest people. Like I never take that. Brutally honest. Like if they don't like your shit, they will say it. I don't like your shit, and that's it. So I wouldn't expect anything less of that. Mine were brutalized first, I would say, from my college band director. I think that was where it first kind of started. Like get sent back to the drawing board. Since we talk about arrangements, I've heard me and Aaron had this conversation at the HBCU Band Consortium. How long does it take you to write a standard arrangement, not a rap daddy? I mean a full song.
Well, for me, it depends. It depends on what song it is. If it's like a drill song and you know how much time you usually gonna move around, or if it's just a song that you're gonna play in the stands for like a battle, it usually don't take me long. I say about an hour and a half. You know what I'm saying? But if it's a ballad, because of what I'm looking for, with the type of effect I'm looking for from my audience, I'm looking for finesse. I want the audience to be singing it. I'm looking for like how I'm gonna open it up. Where like you said, when it comes to my ballad, my stuff will look like J.W. Pepper too. And if there's a certain effect that I'm looking for, that can take anywhere from 2 to 4 hours. Cause I put it down, and I walk away for a second, give my mind time to work again and go back at it again. And then yes, that's me.
Let me jump in right there. You're talking about from opening the program, starting a new document to print, 1 hour.
Chism, you muted.
Oh, you talking to me, Aaron?
Yeah, I'm talking to you.
Yeah, it don't take me long at all, Doc. Like, people used to laugh at me when I was teaching in public schools. There was a guy, his name was Derek Hardaway. He's now the principal at Melrose High School. You probably know him, Keto. He was the band director at East High School. And he used to be like, Chism, I need this. I mean, between the periods, I used to go in my office and just knock it down and go send it to him. It don't take me long at all.
Okay, who else is around the hour range?
Especially if I'm hype about the song. If I'm hype about it, I mean, I'm gonna put it in there. There's ways. I mean, how the question is, how are you doing it? Are you hooking up a keyboard and playing as you going because it can catch your rhythm as you go, or are you sitting there with a mouse and you stepping everything that you put in there? Because a lot of times, that's how long that it would take. What I would typically do if it's a song, Aaron, if you call me right now and say I don't know, give me a song, I'm just gonna throw one out there, I would probably go get my car and drive to Walmart. It takes 15 minutes, 20 minutes from my house. Listening to the song, come on back. Listen to the song, come on back. Sit it down, get started. Then that's when the time starts for me. Because by that time, I had time to listen to the song over and over and over again and know what I want to put in it. Now, I'm kind of upset that she didn't ask about voicing and all that type of stuff, and I can tell you another step. So, but yeah, it don't take me long at all. But ask what y'all.
We not even done yet, Doc. We ain't even
So-
on any off the cuff questions yet.
I'm just saying that because, well, no, I don't point and click. I use a keyboard and all that stuff, but I never use Hyperscribe or anything like that. I never play it in because I always want to see and know and trust the rhythms that I'm putting in without, Hyperscribe, especially on Finale, is, to me, from my experience, has always been inaccurate rhythmically. And so I go in, I use the MIDI, and I use the the keyboard and all. I know all the shortcuts, and I have extra shortcuts and all that stuff. But even for me, I've never gotten it within an hour. Like a full, like if I'm doing a drill song, I've never gotten it within an hour. I would say maybe 4 hours has been my fastest. And I'm trying to figure out, because I can be familiar with the song, I gotta be familiar with the chord structure, but I'm trying to figure out what am I missing to get it down to an hour.
Well, I'm gonna tell you, even O'Neal Sanford can vouch for this. When I was at Jackson State, and our rehearsal went from 5 to 9 p.m. right? Or 5 to 10. I don't know, somewhere between that window. And Mr. Al Teller came up to me and he was like, Chism, I need this song and we need to play it today. And he was like, right at the start of the rehearsal. What Jackson State used to do was like the first maybe hour or so. No, the first hour or so was in band room rehearsal. Around 6:30 is when we went outside to go do the field stuff. So I think the song at the time he wanted was Last $2. I think that's what it was. And O'Neal Sanford sat there and he watched me. And he was like, damn, boy, I can say that, right? Oh, okay. He was like, damn, you slick this stuff out, don't it? And I was like, because I'm a firm believer in getting it in time. You know what I'm saying? Mr. Taylor asked for this. So by the time the band came back in, they had music on their stand and they was ready to roll. So, I mean, because he sat there and he witnessed it.
I feel you on that, Doc. Drill tunes I can do in under 2 hours. Like, I know exactly, because I'm really going through the drill in my head at the same time, or how I would like it visually to look with the arrangement. So I know I don't have to make it long. It just has to fit the drill concept that's already written, or in my head at least. Like, and so
if it's a drill song, you like the song as it is, you're gonna eventually, because you don't know the design that you have yet. So you just kind of write the song as you want to arrange the song itself, and then you can cut it to fit your drill or repeat a section. Because when you drilling, and I don't know how anybody else do this, when you drilling, you're not gonna do a whole lot of crazy moving fast 16 triplets rhythms while you doing TTRs or still whatever it is that you're moving on the drill. So you have to do some simplified things. You may have to cut some things, but then if you want to change this song and make it for the stand, then you can go back and make edits to add more to it because you're standing still at this point.
That's fair. Kieta, how long it take you? So we got an hour. We got 2 to 4 hours, Aaron. That's what you said, right? Or longer.
Yeah, long. If it's a rap ditty, then I can. Yeah, that's easy. I can do that real quick.
We not counting rap.
Not counting those. I say probably average about a minimum, and that's pushing hard, 4 hours.
Okay, Kieta.
See, well, I'm part of the point and click crew, so I've tried the Hyperscribe at the piano, and like I said, like the rhythms won't always be accurate. The time I don't know. I've never actually timed myself to see how quick I could do an arrangement. Ballpark, I would say. Well, it also depends, because I'll probably spend an hour. Like if I'm doing a song, I'll spend an hour on it. Then I'll be done, and then I'll come back the next day with fresh ears and listen to it. So I would say, at a minimum, yeah, about 4 hours maybe. like all the time put together.
That fresh ears thing is important to me. Like I have to walk away. Like if I'm in a grind, I'll try to push it to I have the whole format. So I agree with that. I'm not a hyperscribe person either. I just can't do it. I have a keyboard right here. I just can't do it. I actually don't even. How many of y'all use a keyboard when you write?
100%. I even have a travel keyboard MIDI when I get on the bus. I got one that I use on the bus with me.
Just
I got
for
one
me.
on my phone.
Yeah, for me. One, see, for me, I like when I was in school, I didn't have a keyboard in my dorm. So it all had to be like here. Like, so I'm a point and click, but I'm a point and click because I don't have perfect pitch, but I have really good relative pitch.
I use this every so often.
Yeah, I don't, and I know this sounds strange, but I think the reason why I can write fast is because I can see it. I can see what I hear. I don't know if that makes sense. Like I can see the line, like my interval, like my theory is strong enough that I trust what I'm putting on paper, like as I go, because I can hear a perfect fourth. I can hear a minor third. And, just from there, I just go from there. So my quickest dot, I had to write stuff. I had to write stuff in my band room while students are outside sometimes. And so by the end of practice, so 2 hours to an hour and a half really under pressure. But here's my method. I take out notebook paper and I line everything out I want to happen while I'm listening to it. By the first time I'm listening, I'm just listening for who I'm going to give the melody, who's going to carry the harmony. Bass line is already there. The second time, I start putting out the form. So I do a lot of form and analysis with my arrangement. So I already know, like, it's a typical song form. I know where it's going with R&B. I know we're going to go to that fifth. We're going to use a temporary modulation to the fifth, especially if it's a minor key. We're going to do that descending line. Ba-da-da. It just happened, like, especially the music we listen to has a lot of similar properties. So when it comes to like a drill tune, by the end of rehearsal, without a keyboard, just.
But I would say this, the most amount of time that I usually spend on a tune, because the song, I think it was Cybil said, keeping the integrity of the piece. The song that you're listening to. And I don't know if any of you guys had this, but the most trouble that I usually have as an arrangement is how I'm going to end it. That's where most of the time actually occurs. Because do you want to end it on a stinger? Do you want to go and give it that whole note with the knife? Do you want to give this big Lindsey B. Sargent, never ending, pompous, Big Ten?
Paul Adams.
Paul Adams. That's gonna give you 13 knives and So I mean, it's like that's usually where most of the time comes. In when it comes to arranging, because let me put this, it's the ending. That's what usually takes the most time for me.
Raise your hand if the ending takes the most focus from
I'm raising both hands.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, the thing is that I often, so I'm saying, when I'm telling you, if I push, I'll get it at that time, but I never turn in stuff in a 4 hour. No, I never even go for that. If Dr. Ruff asked me right now, hey, I need this song, he might get it days later, because I like you said, I'm trying to, listen to it again, make sure I go back and get it right. Because some things I've done and I've had to go back and scrap a whole verse or scrap the chorus or however I was doing it or whatever the format I was doing, because I didn't like it when I went back and listened to it the next day. And so, yeah, if I push and print, yeah, I can get it there, but I will never do that. So I will spend days on it. And I feel better about any arrangement that I've spent multiple days on it. But now I understand sometimes you don't have that option. But
that editing part. Now we notice I didn't put how long it take you to edit, because you might go back a year from now. I've done it. I put like 2020. Then I was like, oh shit, I don't like that ending. 2021 edition.
Right.
2022 edition.
Yeah, I got plenty of folders like that. I got a folder for now. I call it unfinished shit. Man, it's so much stuff in it.
Who got an unfinished shit folder? I do. I got about
you.
How long it take you?
Like Kieta, I never really thought about it. I would say maybe 2.5, and that's just because I may have a different situation than most of you, where I don't have a husband, I don't have kids, I don't have any responsibility, so I can totally focus. Also, I don't use a keyboard. I started out by hand, so when Finale and stuff came out, I felt more like clicking in. But the great Paul Adams gave me every shortcut known to man, so it's still, it's still quicker than I thought it would be. But yeah, that brings me to another pet peeve about arrangements, is when people F it up after you done work hard on it and start changing stuff.
That's a whole, I forgot about that. People inverting your chords without permission. Yes. Add extra parts. Yeah.
Your eye twitching.
Yeah.
Look, I lead band camp with that. I lead rehearsals with that. And I tell people, if you can imagine the type of fire that is in my chest when I have to say it, because before they even do it, I already feel like it's going to happen. Like, I've had students that I have had section leader. This one section leader in particular. I always tell them, I say, if you need to change something, tell me, and we can address it. See if we can make the changes. This section leader took 2 measures out of the music, and then I'm like, "Yo, where's the music? Where's this mellophone part that's supposed to be right here?" And boy, do you understand the fury? I ain't even gonna talk about it no more because I'm reliving it.
This off the cuff. You can tell us why you mad, son. You can tell us why you mad. I mean, but devil's advocate, I'll say I notice a lot of band directors now do a lot of editing from the podium. Like, it's not even sometimes a student. And I wonder how much of a conversation happens between them and the arranger sometimes, because I've had it happen once to me. My co-band director messed with something of mine. I was like, I ain't wanted to arrange like the song, because again, I was thinking about the drill. I was like, the drill is already too long. They already gave us a time limit. I wrote within that time limit. So that's also why I write quick, because I'm thinking about the time, maybe not the drill, but if they tell you got 7 minutes, you can't take 4 minutes on a drill. Like, at best, you need 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes, top to bottom. And I hope you're not coming from downfield, because that's just going to eat up too much time by the time you get the contact. Like, this is cross field drill. But I always wonder, like, why is that like common practice? Even more so, we used to get cussed out. Raise your hand, you've been cussed out for changing music as a student in band.
Well, I played the saxophone. They claimed they couldn't hear us, so.
Listen, I played clarinet and being cussed out because I was trying to be heard. And in trying to be heard, I said, we got another octave above this. So I just feel inclined, and I would get in trouble because he's like, if I wanted it that high, damn it, I would have wrote it that high. And that's what I used to get told. But then I learned how to respect the arranger, and I would ask, like, hey, can I do this? And he told me no. And I'm like, all right, bet it's good. Shaw, what about you? I already know you're gonna say something ridiculous like 30 minutes.
Nah, that would have been simple from learning from Paul Adams.
No. A lot of it is once I start learning the structure of the song, after I've listened to it for maybe about 15, 30 minutes. I'm like you, Krystal, as far as I'm going to listen and I'm going to know what format that I'm going to go with the song. I have done a song in like 2 hours. On average, I can do it in 4, but I'm one of these ones that's real, like, I guess I'm like Aaron, I'm real meticulous about, because I want to make sure that everything is going to be right, because I don't want to keep having to go back and having you want to say, well, can we make this change? Can we make that change? I just want to make sure that it's going to be right. And like I said, but that always goes back to knowing what the group I have is going to be. I want to make sure that everything is going to be lined up correctly. And like I said, when we've got these time limits for halftime, you've only got 7.5 minutes, 8 minutes at the most. You want to make sure that everything's going to fit into what you need. So, yeah, I've done it, especially if I like the song, I'll tend to work quicker. But, you know, if I don't like the song, then sometimes that song will drag out and I'll go walk away from it and come back and then listen to it again. So it just depends on really how I'm feeling, but I've done as little as 2. 4 is about my average, but then I got stuff that I just will listen to, just walk away. Maybe I finish it, maybe I won't. Depends on how I feel.
Then it goes in that folder, unfinished shit. And it goes there to live until somebody requests, and you're like, damn, I got, especially if you want some money, you're like, damn, I got that. And then you're like, gosh, I got to go finish it now. So yeah, I agree. Our next question. What makes someone's arrangement good or bad? You could go either direction. I knew we were going to spend a little time on this question. That's why I put it in the middle. Good or bad? What? Because the band fans, sometimes they think stuff good. And I was like, why?
I think for me, what makes a good arrangement is, it's kind of like what y'all was saying before. A, the rhythms. B, it sounds like the song. C, it's enough of you put your own in it, but not too much to take. Goes back to integrity. So you're not putting too much in it to take away from the actual song. And really, like, one thing that that I always thought, when I felt like if the arrangement can stand by itself without a percussion part, I think that helps. That's a good argument to make. Okay, that's a good arrangement. Like, they did their time. They took the time and made sure everything, especially if like the song is like a groove. If the song can groove without a percussion part, then I feel like that helps make it a good arrangement. What makes a bad arrangement?
Everything you just mentioned, ignored.
Yeah.
That's
and also, like, when it's like when you try to put too much hot sauce on chicken, it takes away from the flavor. You put too many high notes, and I know that's like the thing nowadays, and that was something I tried not to do with my latest arrangement, but it's a lot I could say that makes a bad arrangement. But yeah,
we gonna go with too many, like too much of anything, like just too much, sometimes too much notation. Like, I'm a jump on that. Like, I've said to people, like, oh, when they'll say they like this arranger, I was like, oh, you eat fried chicken every day. And they don't get what I'm saying when I say that. What I'm saying is, you don't have a healthy diet. Like, you only like them because they only write the way that you can understand. And for the general public, starting to be the commonplace is stuff that's really loud. Like, I feel like we have to be on our way to being a deaf society, because everything has to be yelling at you to get your attention. And I do agree, like, putting too much on something. Range is one for me. But mine is sometimes that integrity of the song is just, that's a big one. Like, that's like, do you like the song? And I'm saying that devil's advocate to myself. I'm really trying to make it my niche to be the mashup queen. If you've ever heard an arrangement of mine, I will sneak, just to test my theory, I will sneak something from another song in it to give it a little extra something, especially if the song doesn't have a lot. Like, I'll take I think I ended the song with Day and Night from the Dealey. All I do is think of you. And I kept modulating that. I was like, and people like, what is this from? I stole it. I ended what's that Tamia song? Stranger in My House. I ended it with Out on a Limb because the progressions are similar. And so when I can't find an ending, instead of being real extravagant and creating something that might lose the listener, I'll throw something in, kind of like that album. You know how albums used to be where you get the snippet of the next song. So sometimes people know where I'm going because I done previewed where it's going. Yeah, A&T do a lot. So I don't know if I stole it from you. I mean, me and Aaron about the same time. Aaron older than me. I ain't gonna do that to myself. I'm not that old. Aaron old. He looked like a newborn baby, but he old.
Well, to answer this question, in my opinion, it can be a number of things. See, I'm hearing what you and Brother Colston over there saying, but one of the biggest things, as far as arrangers go, that can make it bad, people gotta understand how to select keys. Key selection is one of the biggest things that could kind of make a bigger song. The overall voicing, the lack of transposition. You know what I'm saying? That can make an arrangement good or bad, and just overall the band who's performing it, the overall execution of it. I learned this from Paul Adams. A lot of times he said that there's no such thing as a bad arrangement. He said it's all on who's presenting it, who's teaching it. Because as Warren Shaw said earlier, he may have a vision for it, but the person who's teaching it or introducing it may flip it and have something else in mind. And so, and you sitting on the side like, wait a minute, I'm the artist of this piece, and this is not what I had in mind. I need to go up here and fix this, or whatnot. But, it can be a twofold type thing. But my number one thing is the key selection. That key selection can be it. You know what I'm saying? You need to determine, if a song is in E major. I mean, you're going to write the orchestral keys, I've been taught, are not good for outside playing. Not at all. Sometimes it's challenging to the students' fingers if you're not teaching the fundamentals to go along with it, right? This past December, for my girl, her band, I did a version of Give Love on Christmas Day for her. And the actual song was in the key of C. And the version I heard was in C. And, and this was a fault on mine. I'm thinking because we're all on the inside, these are high school students, it shouldn't be bad. Whoa. She did a great job at teaching it and her students executing it. But me having to improvise on top of that, I was like, this is when I play alto sax now. So I'm sitting on 3 sharps sitting over here. Luckily that I can play, but I'm not going to say that it was challenging. I mean, it wasn't easy. It was easy. So key selection plays a heavy role in that.
I'm a tag on that key selection. And I'm glad you mentioned, how many of us play woodwinds? Like, how many of us woodwind? I always think like people who play woodwind are real careful about that key. But I think just as equal with brass, because you got some partials that are just not good to try to hit. Like, I call E a man note. Me and my husband, we talk about this all the time. To hit on a brass instrument, concert E in the upper range you asking to miss. And if you do it too much, you really gonna wear at their chops, because the partials just not it. But that just kind of go to people writing without the full scope of education and orchestration and tendencies for instruments. Like knowing those tendencies, I guess that makes a good arrangement too. When you know to understand the tendencies of an instrument, like you saying Chism's, like if you know that 3 sharps is like hell on earth, why you there? Like just drop it down in keys, just like. And I know sometimes you could go change the key too much where it loses that feel. Like they're dark keys. There's some keys that can darken something up or brighten it up. But if you're only moving like half step, a whole step away, and you can do that and make it better. Now I ain't saying write everything in B flat, but make it playable. So I guess I'm gonna add what makes a good arrangement: playability. I was taught if you can't teach it if by the end of rehearsal, they still don't know how to do it, two different things might be happening, or both. One, it's too hard. You didn't write it for the group that you're teaching it. Or two, one is too hard, and two, it's not clear. That's when we get dirty rhythms. And it's not clear whether that means the band director hasn't taught those skills, which is why I don't know why all these high school band directors take arrangements from everybody. I don't care how popular you are. And I've gotten, that link from certain people, like, yeah, give this to your kids. I'm like, that was written for this school. My school got 3 trumpets and 90 beginners. We ain't playing that. And I don't want to abuse their arrangement by watering it down to meet the needs. If I got to do that, I should have just wrote it my damn self. Like, I don't want to have to water it down that much. So that key thing is crucial, but that comes from an educator's mind, which we got a lot of people who are arranging. It's like a popular thing to do. I've noticed. It wasn't popular when I started. What about you, Aaron? Like, it wasn't like popular. It was hard to get on the podium with your shit, to me. Like,
so yeah, so I actually started doing I started at A&T in 95. I started doing arrangements probably because we got finale in our computer lab in like finale 3.7. And
Aaron, you old as shit.
Yeah. Shut up. So we got finale in our computer lab in 96, and I was literally sleeping in the lab trying to, learn finale because we had to use a book. It wasn't on the internet. It was a big book with all, how to work it and all that stuff. But I didn't use that, whatever. So, but then I started getting some music out. And what was happening was we had a dance committee, and we had a dance committee, but not all the music was written on paper. Like some of it was really quick music, maybe 4 measures. So they would do it by rote. But as we got further along, people were still trying to do it by rote. Then it ended up being on the board, on a chalkboard. I was like, yo, we can't do it like that. So I started putting it on paper. So I started sneaking my arrangements in through the dance committee. And that's how I ended up being on there. Because like you said, we had arrangers, and it was hard to get in there. So I was just like, hey, here's the music that you were trying to do. It's just on the paper now. Let's do it like this. And so then I became the go-to guy for getting the dance music out. But it was tough. And I got my hand slapped trying to get on the podium. Yeah, that was a tough one too. So, but I ended up on there eventually. It was like I had to prove myself really to get through, but I got through.
Cybil, was it hard for you to get on the podium?
Podium? Was I on the podium? Maybe one time at NCCU. Maybe one time. Maybe once. And that didn't even make it out of the band room.
It didn't make it out of the band room.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, y'all, I'm gonna tell y'all. You know, this my show. Y'all wasn't letting us on the podium. I don't give a good goddamn how good we were. We wasn't. I got on the podium because, you know, I'll say this, Melvin and Miles, and, you know, I'm a little lamenting because he's retiring because he gave me opportunity. So I defend my band director too. And I wasn't, people like, man, y'all go to these schools. I said, I went to a school where I thought I would be seen too. Like, because we hear the stories. We hear how y'all take names off of arrangements from chicks. You know, she not here, but I've done a show with all lady band directors, and who arrange, and they said take the name off of your arrangement, pass it to a school or a high school, got your arrangement, you don't even know like who gave it to them. They done scratched their name out, whited it out, put your name. It used to get real dirty to the point where, you know, us ladies wasn't trying to write because it's like, why? Why am I going to write if you're not going to give me podium time? I got podium time my freshman year. I mean, he butchered my arrangement before I got a chance to stand on the podium. But I said before that he didn't want me to fail because he knew, like, if I failed, I would never be received well again from my counterparts, especially my male counterparts. Like, but I dropped that hot fire. That first one was hot, and that was kind of my door in. But when I hear stories from other ladies, not just saying that people get on the podium and they get this stuff played a lot, but like multiplied times two, our stuff wasn't always getting played, or band members would approach it like they didn't know what they were approaching, like it was wrong if you weren't confident.
You know, Krystal, I don't think that there was a woman thing. I think all of us have been guilty of that. You know, we would put something out there and they would take our, and you know, because you got to think about it too. And I can tell you this because I witnessed it with the place that I worked at.
Not to cut you off, I got to ask you this question. What if someone literally tells you every day, we're not going to play your shit because you're a woman? Because we're not talking like
that's different. That's different.
No, we're talking like people blatantly say, "Oh, we ain't no girl." I was told a girl was never gonna get shit out the band room. First day.
Yeah, that's a different case. But I was just saying, as far as, you know, I know at one of the places I worked at, if the students, regardless on how good or how bad the arrangement was, if a student saw a certain name in that corner, they're not gonna put any effort in the arrangement at all. You know, in certain sections, I even witnessed certain sections. Once they hit the stand and they see that name, they would take the part and throw it away and say that they never got it. You know what I'm saying? But in your case, that's a whole different thing. Yeah, I was just speaking in terms of all of us probably have been guilty of, you know, somebody see our name pop up on the who is it, man? What, this dude is a crab? This dude is this dude, man, ain't nobody finna play that, until you finally got that opportunity. And you threw that hit out there, and they was like, "Oh yeah, he legit." You know what I'm saying? So
that proving ground is real. Do you think? I got a question. Do you think that happens more where there's a lot of people fighting to get arrangements played too?
Well, in this day and time, it is, because it seemed like more and more as quickly as these finale programs and these Keegan codes and all this stuff are sliding around, and people are getting copies of it. Is making arranging seem more open, like breathing air, so to speak. You know, there's more and more that's coming, and that's, you know, here's the shout out. How many of us in this group can actually, or still, if your computer broke down, you can actually put out that manuscript paper and still do it by hand? You know what I'm saying? Me too. You know,
it wouldn't be good, but I can do it.
I mean, see, and that's the thing. But it's more and more people who are thinking that they are arrangers based off the fact, because they getting these computer generated programs, and they're sitting back, no form of orchestration, no form of theory, no form of anything. They just picking until it sounds the way they want it to sound. Go back to question one, but it still got them jacked up rhythms. You know, so
it's the playability isn't there either.
It's more and more so-called arrangers today than it was even so much as 5 years ago. I think
arrangers or transcribers.
Hey, you just hit it. Ooh, hey, There you go. There you go. There you go. There you go.
Excuse me, Cybil, what is the difference between an
And I
arranger
think,
and a transcriber, please?
hold up, and I think the pandemic actually birthed a lot of these folks.
So everybody knows, arrangement. It comes from the arranger. I'm preaching to the choir, but I'm talking to the people watching. And where your transcriptions are literally exactly what you heard, or some people even take arrangements that are already out and just copy that to their whatevers. So I think that's a whole nother can of worms too, arrangements versus transcriptions. Another thing as far as what makes arrangements bad, in my opinion, and I did not learn this until I got to Norfolk State, was the lack of equity in the arrangement, because some people write to their strongest players and you got the weaker players just sitting back like, I can't do that. But the great Paul Adams sometimes have 2 and 3 parts, but when they come together, it makes it seem like everybody's contributing to the finished product. And everybody feels successful, like they've done something, and they see those other parts that they can shoot for eventually.
That's that writing for the people in front of you, and that's why I always say, like, y'all can't have real, like, for the band directors that arrange, I believe that they're writing for the group in front of them. Like, I believe that's the first time where your pen really gets tested. If you have screwed up orchestration or instrumentation that you have to cater to, and you have to learn how to still make it sound good with less or with weaker sections. If you ain't got trombones, then you gotta write, saxophone's got to carry that middle. That's the best voice. Like, we learned that, or you learned that trumpets can hold chord structure down too. If your melody is in a different voice, if it's in a tenor voice, the trumpets can sit right on that staff, and you can write a good old fashioned triad. And as long as you got the basic tonality, tonal harmony, hold up the book, Chism. You gotta grab that book. Listen, I promise they ain't paying me. Get that book, arrangers. Get it. But that is the textbook I use, because
get the workbook too.
Get the work. See, they ought to pay us, because it's just good information.
And like what Cybil just said with Mr. Adams, here's 2 good arrangements. And you said it too, Chris. Here's 2 good arrangements. You can go back and listen and study. If you go back and listen to Jackson State's version to PYT and Jackson State's version to Swoop, it's like every section in that band has their own thing going on. If I bet when they were teaching it or when they were learning, it sounded like a bunch of chaos. But when you put it all together, be like, oh man, that thing is jamming. That's where it's at. Even Behold. Listen to Behold. And Beware.
And how slick, back to transcriptions versus arrangements, how slick Paul Adams is. I borrowed from a teacher that wasn't mine. You borrow from greatness. Is that sliding in your trademark? Everybody, if you arrange long enough, you get a trademark. You get a trademark somewhere where people know.
Next question.
Go ahead. How many of y'all got a trademark?
You know what?
I do. They call it Chismisms.
I wouldn't say so. What I've done a lot more recently is, so our band has become known for what's that song called? For My Hustlers, the bell tones, smash something, that song has become, synonymous with us. And so a lot of times, if you hear those bell tones within the song somewhere, it's me thinking about, this is how people identify our band. This is a song that's identified, much like, Behold. But when you hear those fourths, bell tone fourths ascending, it's me calling back to For My Hustlers, which, sometimes it's disguised in there, sometimes it's right blatant, but you know, it is something that I try to do more frequently now.
I think I wouldn't really call it a trademark unless other people can have it too. But I do throw a lot of things in music, like you were saying, Krystal, that maybe have the same chord structure of the song that I'm using. Put it in there really quick. By the time it's over, they're like, "Hey, was that Michael Jackson? Mama said, Mama saw, Mama saw." But things like that, and I think that's the humorous part of me, just interjecting that personality. And the other one is there's gonna be an ending. There's just gonna be an ending on everything, even a rap daddy.
And this is the next question, and it's about percussion, but I like to showcase percussion at the end too, because I feel like often they are the lost children of the band. Like, unless you're a percussionist, it's really hard to engage them throughout, and they're the ones who will quickly change your stuff if they're not engaged. They will quickly change. Let me say that again. They will quickly change something. And if you're not, well versed on percussion and paying attention to them, they'll do it all the time. They'll do it egregiously. They'll change the whole feel of your song. They'll put accents where you didn't want accents. They'll put flams and ramacues. They'll put drags where you didn't want to drag. Because that's what they do. They the ADHD students of the band. Like, typically, they are. They play percussion for a reason. They busy, and sometimes you have to write to that busyness without allowing them to take over. So I'll try to include them in the end so they know I'm thinking about them too. That's something, and always borrowing a progression from somebody great. It's like my head nod to them. Even like if it's a Stevie song, that whole tone scale, he really utilize whole tone scales, because whole tone scales will lead you to the dominant every time. I know that's some nerd stuff we about to nerd out, but percussion parts are y'all. You already, someone almost cussed me out online. Talk about, yeah, they don't pay. There no way you writing percussion parts that your percussionists are playing. I was like, well, one, yes, they are, because I taught them how to play, and so they respect that. They know I know what they're doing. So they're not so egregious in taking liberties, because they know I'm sitting there thinking about their percussion part just as much as the winds in the band. Like, I sometimes really what takes me the longest is the percussion. So percussion parts, I'm a fan of it. Make them read like everybody else. And if they can't read, teach them. And if you can't teach them, hire somebody to teach them.
I'll go on that one first. I'm going all the way back to 2001 when Cedric Young was director of bands at Clark Atlanta. He told me to start writing for percussionists. Percussionists are musicians too. And if we spent the time to audition them on learning how to read and sight read, so on and so forth, why can't we get them percussion part? They're going to have to do it in a concert band anyway, if we really want to go there. But with me, I do more of a basic framework of the percussion, because I try to kind of stay towards what's going on within the song, and I will let them take liberties as long as I approve it. But that's why I've also got percussion instructors, because that's not my forte. I want to be able to make sure that they fit within the basic framework of the song and not be too busy where the music tends to get lost within the percussion.
Right. Well, we have two we have two percussion instructors, and they both kind of tag team on the writing. And I while I can write percussion parts, it may end up being one of those things where they might not be as challenged as they would if the percussion instructors wrote the part. And so I trust them to add their flavor to the arrangement that I've written just for the wins. So oftentimes when I submit the score first, it only has piccolo to sousaphone, and it doesn't have the percussion part on it. But I also have a relationship that's good enough with both instructors where I can say, hey, I'm not really feeling this part right here. It might be too busy here, or this might, be too much in this spot. So can you change this spot to do this or that? And then it works out. And sometimes I can even, the way they write, there are things that they put in there that I would not have ever even imagined putting in to the music. And I'm like, yo, where'd that come from? And so I leave their expertise to do what it does and trust the process. But then, like, again, like the director of bands might say to me, I don't like this. I need you to change it. We reserve the right to have that discussion, say, hey, this doesn't fit with what I was thinking. So that's where I am with that.
I think it's important what you said, like you trust the expertise of your coordinator. My coordinator could arrange too. So we tag team on music because it just got music out quicker. We understood an ensemble. But I think it's important to say, like, there's communication between the two, but there's also like an expectation. Like, this is me, that the percussion coordinator should be writing stuff down. Cadences too. That's a whole nother. They already done on Percussion Live. Talk that talk. But I feel like, what's your purpose? Like, are you teaching them cadences and you teaching them how it go? But if you leave, that part and how it gets played has left with you. So now I have to rely on my memory to communicate that with another percussion coordinator who has their own flavor. Or if it's written down, at least they have an idea of what was done beyond a video or recording. Like, they can say, this is the cadences that the group has played before. They don't have to do those cadences, but there's always a book. There's a percussionist book, and the percussion coordinator keeps that book, and I have a copy in my office. That's how I always ran it. Or I wrote it, and the parts are there, and if something got changed, we done communicated that before kids even got it. Keyword, before the kids even got it, we done already ironed out, like, he's like, well, that sticking's gonna be a little difficult, on the quints, crossing like that to get back to drum 4 is gonna be a little odd for this drill, and you want them to drill, so don't do too much stuff, because we all know percussionists are the best drillers on the face of the earth.
Well, Aaron and Warren said it best. They are percussionists. They are musicians as well. They should be reading too. Now, as band directors and arrangers, sometimes the parts that we actually write for them, it may be jacked up, it may be square, it may be lame, it may be whatever. But at least they got something in their face that they're reading. And, they do pretty good at being creative at, like you said, Krystal, they are the ADD kids of the band and whatnot. What was the word? What was the words you used? You on mute. But anyway, they are using it creative at creating things that are actually fit some majority of the time. They may have a kick here or there. They may have a tap here or there. They may put a flam here somewhere that may not fit. You just tell them to take it out. But at the most part, if we're writing parts for them, they need to be seeing something. Warren, I love that comment because that's what my answer was too. They have to do it in the springtime as well. They sitting in the back. But the difference between the fall and the spring, they have to do it amongst other instruments, the chimes, the vibes, the xylophone, mallets, the snare drum, the bass. They have cymbal crashes here and there. They got suspended cymbals. They have to read all of this stuff versus, they only restricted to the marching band. Said we can still write for them. If you go get an arrangement from Dave Bocook at Rangers Publishing or Johnny Vincent and at Pepper, wherever you get these stock arrangements from, they got percussion parts on there too. So they need to be reading something.
Yeah, and no fault of their own though, because of tradition. They normally don't. And that scares them away from concert band because it's not required past the first year. So I think that's a whole culture that needs to infiltrate the HBCU world. But I agree with Aaron and Warren. I do like the basic structure for percussion, and I always let my instructor, who is very competent, take it and run with it. I mean, when we have these people in a position, you want to make use of them. You know, you don't want to just take all of their stuff all the time, but it still should be to a point where if they were not there, you do have the ability to put something on the paper, because honestly, what you put on the paper, they probably could read that easier right now than what the instructor's putting on the paper, because they haven't had that training. So I think both sides need to work together.
Well, I know for me, I've never really like spent time to learn how to write percussion parts. So I guess I took a percussion class, but we all had to take percussion class. It was one of them kind of classes. So I've never really tried to write a percussion part. And every band that I've been a part of, we've had a percussion instructor that's been like, they know their stuff. One example, for the Memphis Mass Band, Trey Moore. And in the parts that he come up with for them, I don't think if we were the best percussion instructor, the best percussion writer in the world, I don't think we could come up with some of the parts that they come up with, because they know those instruments better than anybody else, right? They spent years developing these skills of playing these instruments. So while I agree, I guess it depends on the arranger, in my opinion. If they want to spend time and like develop those skills and say, hey, we want these parts, and this is like the blueprint that I want for them, that's fine. And if someone like me who doesn't really, know percussion like that, and like I may not do it, but we know we have a percussion instructor that knows their stuff and they do it. And I guess it just depends on the arranger.
Yeah. Shout out to the good percussion coordinators, because if you got a good one, it does take weight off of you as the arranger.
Absolutely.
Like, absolutely.
Absolutely. And I think that when you have that person in place, you don't have to worry about it as much. But when you putting down, if you going ahead and putting it down, and that's your blueprint, and it gets changed, or they add flavor to it, then you have to ensure that whatever was changed was also written. Because if you go back and play that song the next year, well, how did we play that? Well, now we don't have documentation. All we have is the blueprint. So you got to make sure those things are written. One of the things I like about at A&T, when a student wants to do a new cadence, they have an idea for a new cadence, the first thing they're told is write it down. And if you get it written on paper, then we'll see what happens next. But if they don't take the effort to write it down, then who knows if it's changing from week to week, because nobody knows how it goes. So I'm all about having that percussion part written, and we are one of those bands that's, a lot of our cadences are written. We just have so many of them. Got to get through all of them.
Somebody asked a question in here, but I guess this kind of goes to what group you write for. Someone said it must be hard to write for tonals, and everybody doesn't use tonals. Like, that's kind of like a MEAC driven thing, like tonals and having like a large array of percussion instruments. And I can see, depending on your region, your area, and the function of percussion and instrumentation in your band, while writing it down might not even be like, it might be an act of futility. I can see that, because depending on how you write your arrangement, if the dominant focus is playing something that people could quickly recognize, a lot of times these rap daddies, and you notice I didn't get on rap daddies because they don't have a lot going on. So it's no point writing that. It's not a lot going on. That's why I think a lot of people back in the day didn't write down those kind of, I call them 8-bar ditties, where you can write it on the board because it literally is 8 bars of the same thing, and the chord structure is easy, and the rhythm is repetitive. I just do it to stretch myself. I sat down with our drum major undergrad because the percussion method class is ass in a lot of ways for people. Like, it's like the worst methods class ever because, especially at an HBCU, just being real talk, you might not spend a lot of time. Yeah, I said I typo, like my typing fingers. It looks combination of rhythm. It came out all bad on this iPhone. But I just think if we want to, I hate hearing percussionists get a bad rap. They get told they can't read. They get told, people say that they mess up so much, but we don't treat them like they're real musicians. Like we keep saying it, we don't treat them like they're real musicians. We don't put that same type of demand on them sometimes. And that's why I advocate for them to have a part, even if they're going to look at it once. It's just the fact that you treated them like a musician and they approach it like a musician, when you treat them like a musician. But if you got a good coordinator, I can see, hey, you got it. Like, I definitely have had some stuff. We like, you got it. But I can really write for percussion. When I say I used to sit back there, first of all, percussion was always behind, clarinets get put in the back in a lot of schools. And guess who's in front of us? Loud ass percussion. So I would just watch. I would watch their stick movements. I would watch the rudiments. And when I was in method class, I would look at the rudiment sheet. Like, I see how they incorporated that double paradiddle right there. Okay, I see when they're incorporating flams to drive our tempo and make sure we're marching on the beat. I see why they use that rudiment there. Tonals, I would listen to roll downs all the time and like try to meter it in my head, like how they accomplishing this, because I can't do it. But I would watch a lot. It's kind of one of those things where we covet. We covet from we learn from watching sometimes, watching and listening. But them percussion classes are ass, and I can get why people just be like, I'm not writing because I don't get it. Like, and that's a whole nother show about these method classes and undergrad for music majors. I'm teaching brass methods, by the way, next year. Pray for me. No, I'm kidding. I play mellophone. I got it. I got a question. Are too many, because we done talked about region a little bit, are too many arrangers trying to sound the same?
Yes.
Damn, that quick fact. All right. You gonna tell us why you mad? You just like, yes.
I agree. I was waiting on this one. This is when
hold on, Kieta got the floor. Hold on, Chism. Because he was quick fire to that button.
Honestly, no, seriously, honestly, I feel like it's especially like in the past few years, like especially with I hate to bring it back to Southern, but with people like Brian Simmons, if you notice, a lot of the rap songs, the way he wrote rap songs, a lot of bands are doing nowadays. They'll do the big intro. If it has a melody, they'll write the melody, tuba break, trombone break, blow section, tuba break, another blow section, and the ending. That's been like the format for rap songs for the past since like 2014, 10 years. Yeah.
I have to disagree with you, brother.
Format is one thing.
Because the format, that particular format, and I would like to say it goes back to the 90s, brother. I would like to say first time I've heard that format is when Jackson State played Big Ballin' back in 97. The whole intro.
That was the iconic
baseline, blow section with no tubas and percussion. Tubas and percussion come in and end. So that goes back decades. Well,
even with that format, it's like with that format, yeah, you hear a lot of bands play that. But what I'm saying is like there's that one, which is like the typical rap format, but then there's the one that's been going on recently, especially with like these how more rap songs have melodic lines now. Everybody is they're trying to write these melodies for rap songs the same way now. They're trying to give if it's above a certain note, they'll try to give it to the baritones, trumpets. They'll have F1s playing above E's and all in the stratosphere. And I was kind of guilty of it too a little bit this summer, but the way I wanted to do mine was I didn't want to do that format. So it's I would say a lot of people are trying to emulate their favorite arrangers nowadays. I would say more of that.
I would say that, okay, so for one, yeah, the playing the starter song and the tube break and then the crank with no drums, no tubas. Yeah, that's been going on for a while, but I say go back even further than that. You listen to the old gospel songs when the musicians lay out and the sopranos, altos, tenors still singing. They go, everybody singing their part.
Take us to church.
That's I think it stemmed from church, honestly, but there's I'm not gonna go there. Anyway, now I will say adding that trombone part in, that part was not happening back in the 90s. Adding the trombone feature, basically, that part was not there, and that's a very recent thing. And I will put that on. I would probably say I feel like Southern really made that popular, and a lot of bands do add that in there now. And a lot of bands are sounding the same way, to the point where, even I've done it, and it's cool. The trombones love it because a lot of times the trombones get the pads in the rap tunes, but then we talk about we call them 8 bars, and they'll literally be 64 bars. And so now they're just full songs, and so I've tried to pull away from that as well, where our 8 bars are not 64 bars, and we try to bring it back down, because also now being in a new conference again, we have new rules again, so we can't play like we used to again.
Now, brother
Chuck asked a question. Oh, sorry. He asked, was this old format? Are we talking old format versus new format?
Well, he was talking in regards to what I said when I was me and brother. Okay, yeah, that's what, because I saw it too. And I agree with now that you broke it down like you did, Aaron. I agree with you, Kieta, when you said what you said now, because now I got a better understanding of it. But I still don't think that was a Brian Simmons thing. You are from Southern, you know y'all traditions and whatnot, but I think it went back further than that, because didn't Mr. Jackson do it, and then what, back in 05?
Yeah, but the way Mr. J did it was
or Mr. Hamer. Somebody, Hamer was good for it.
Yeah, and I think. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
What, like, if I took a song like "No Effing With," that was like the main Migos song that caught everybody's attention. And if you notice, everybody was trying to write a Migos song. And then when we stopped writing Migos songs, everybody stopped playing Migos except for like summer bands and stuff. Mm-hmm. So, and then when, what was another song? It was something else we played. And then everybody started catching on to that style and that format. And then you started to see a lot more bands do it. That's what I mean by that.
Oh, okay. Well, I would say this, and this is just me. Yeah, I do think that all of the arrangements are starting to sound the same. Here's an example. Younger generations, they look for, in my opinion, they look for the same effect. They want to play loud. They want to play as high as possible without establishing their own sound. This goes back to 2 questions ago about what you say, signatures. Well, I forgot what we were talking about, and I was holding back. But if you go and listen to old school arrangers like Adams, your Sergeant Brothers, Prof Kirk, just to name a few, Magruder, they had signatures in their pieces where you knew that was their arrangement. Like you know that based off the sound, based off like even the middle-aged directors like us, the 4, 5 of us that's on here, with the 6 of us rather, you know, even Charles Connor, my boy Mike Cowan here in Memphis, shout out to him, you know, Larry Jenkins at Tennessee State. We still have things in there that identifies our sound. We got that. You know what I'm saying? You know, when you hear this is an Aaron Campbell song. This is a Cybil song. This is a Warren Shaw song. We know this because of y'all. They laughed at me in the chat when I said it, but I got certain things in there to identify a Chism arrangement. You know, but a lot of these younger arrangers, these new school guys, they all go for the same thing. You know, they go for playing high, playing loud, or as what this new dynamic of a great man once said, Blastissimo from O'Neal Sanford. You know, a lot of times when I'm watching band battles, I can't get through them. I watch probably about the first 2 or 3 songs. And that's like one band here, battle back, next band, and I can't watch the rest of the battle because everything sounds the same now. Everybody is going for the same exact thing. What they call finessing, in my opinion, is being able to play a mezzo forte forte. That's a MFFF. You know, that's not even a real dynamic. And then playing as loud as you possibly can, or vice versa. You know what I'm saying? So, and even like, you know, I got to go back to the formats. The formats are still the same. You know, if let's go with Brother Colston and give Brother Simmons the credit for, you know, this new format. If all of us are arrangers, and this is for people who are watching in the room as well, you are an artist, and an artist be able to make things their own. So why don't let's create new formats so others can follow.
Devil's advocate a little bit. Isn't that our entire society? We have a covetous society. Our society is a following society. Like music, you turn on the radio. I told my students, you know, I'm sure somebody from a beehive is going to like come for me. I was like, there's a certain genre of Beyonce that I can't listen to, because I feel like if I was a DJ, I can layer all of them on top of each other. I could put them all in Sony Soundforge and get like the same feel and damn near the same key. And I was like, I didn't want to write anything like that because I felt like I was always writing the same song. But if that's what's on the radio, like if everything has a triplet, if everything got the same cadence, like there's a lot of responsibility on the arranger to try to find something now that's unique, to find something that stretches their abilities. And unfortunately, in the general public likes repetition to no end now. Like they do. Like, and people always say, well, the fans like it. And I get that because, you know, that's what they digest all day, like fried chicken every day. My band director used to say, you never been on a date.
That's where the creativity comes in. KFC does not taste like Popeyes.
I agree. I'm not saying I agree with it. I'm saying I get it, because it's like this. If you go to one of those schools where your whole book sounds like that, and now you're learning how to write under that, then what you produce is going to be where you came from. Creativity is something that has to be encouraged. And we're not encouraging creativity anymore. If we're honest with ourselves, creativity in HBCU band is frowned upon unless you're popular. That goes into even something as simple as marching convertible tubas, you know, writing contras on the field. North Carolina A&T, I think, was the first time to have a pit. No. Central had a pit. Durham had a pit at a Honda, and it was looked down upon because the general population couldn't get it. And so I think for younger Rangers, they're trying to be popular, and they feel like if I do something different, I'm not going to make it. It's kind of like that rise to fame. If I do something different, I'm not going to make it. My first ballad that got on the field was what's that Barry White song? Secret Garden. Tubas had the melody. Everybody told me you couldn't do it. Can't do it. You can't give Tubas melody. I said, all right, I know enough orchestration. Yes, I can. It's enough tubas to do this. And I did it, and people was like, that was like a pleasant change. But I met a lot of opposition about it. So we don't encourage creativity. Being creative has to be encouraged. And let's be real, the band world is not encouraging creativity like that no more.
I think that it's regional, and I think format is one thing. I personally don't have a problem with multiple people following the same format. That's just order, but what you put in the music is something totally different. Just like, the Bible's the Bible. No matter what I stand up there and preach about, it's still the Bible. I can't change that. That's what I follow as my format. But most schools have a chief arranger, and so if most chief arrangers are in that position because it's expected to have a certain sound. You want your band to have a signature. And I would hope that while we're learning from our directors and their signature sound, that they are teaching. That's why I said it's regional, because I can say I did get pushed to be creative at both universities, to kind of step outside the box, especially with Mr. Adams. He always say, you're not me, you're Cybil, so you're gonna have to, be Cybil. You can't do all these tritones at the end of the song all the time. You have to be yourself, make your stamp. So I think it depends on where you are in the country as far as whether they sound the same or not.
Regional differences in arranging. Like I can look at, well, a certain publishing company actually broke down regions and format, like how orchestration has now become even regional, and that they cater to their customers based off of the region. Like it's a real thing. Like it's just like being from Baltimore versus being from DC. It's in Maryland, but we don't talk the same. And so I think you're right. I agree, Cybil, is that some things are regional. Some things, the way we do things are just where we're from and how we were taught, to do things. Someone told me one day, it was like, you couldn't write an arrangement like Southern. And I said, yeah, I can, because I understand format. Like I could look at your arrangement and I could pick it apart. If I see enough of them, I say, oh, okay, this is the formula. Just like, if I look at Aaron's arrangement long enough, I'll see those bell tones and say, this is something I could covet because he's done this 3 or 4 times now. So now, and people are smart enough to do that. They're smart enough to kind of covet those things. I got like 12 minutes. I gotta be on my way to, all right. Next question. Best arrangement you ever heard played by HBCU band?
This was a challenging one.
I know. Yeah, I got well, I did send the questions late, so that's my bad.
No, this was a challenge one, but I just throw one out there just to get the conversation going. I'm a guy of different. I like different things that's out the norm. So Tennessee State had this version of Uptide and Moonlight in Vermont. That these are like dance standards, and I have to go with those two. And I'm gonna be a little biased and say Jackson State's version to What's Love Got to Do with it.
I'm definitely going to go off the beaten path because I actually heard this live at Honda. North Carolina Central's version of Earth Song. That's probably one of my all-time favorites.
That's a Jerem Reed one, right?
Yes.
Jerem wrote that.
Oh, yes. Oh, see? Oh.
Yeah, that was nice. I'm jealous because I graduated once they started going to Hondas and Rose Bowls. So I saw that one. That was pretty good too. But one of my favorites was Mr. Adams, Who Can I Run To, for the modulation down, which normally it goes up, but that just wowed everybody.
I know one off the top of my head for me is, I think Bethune's sing that song. We played it too. that Babyface and not Babyface. It was Avant and
Chi Wyatt.
yeah,
Love.
My First Love.
Yes.
Yeah. That one, and I would to go with the home team. I gotta say, it's like I usually say my two favorite arrangers from Southern are Carnell Knight and Nathan Hamer. But if I had to throw another one in there, Roy Johnson, he had so much stuff that we played that you probably didn't think was his. Like I remember is Roy Johnson. Skin I'm In is Roy Johnson. It's so much. So I'll probably have to go I Remember as probably one of those ones from Roy Johnson. I would put him there. It's one of my favorites.
Can I throw in a? I'm sorry. I just want to throw in a very, very high honorable mention is "Don't Disturb This Groove" by Aaron Campbell.
I was about to say Quiet Place. I was about to say Quiet Place. I was about to say Quiet Place. Aaron,
give the man his flowers while he here. I was gonna say Quiet Place because we talked about that.
Quiet Place is a beast, brother. Yes.
Recently, Nadia's theme from FAMU. Oh my God, that thing is so deliciously orchestrated. Like it just touches all of the orchestration points, just letting notes speak. God, just letting notes do the work.
My. Southern's my, and they did Incomplete by Cisco back in 2000.
I'll say I changed up my entire concept of arranging when I saw Paul Adams and Love Goes On.
Oh God, yeah.
Just the intro on that alone, was that Faces?
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh my goodness, it changed everything I thought about arranging, just looking at that one score. I would say that. I'm gonna tell you, toot my own horn. I love that SWV medley. I will go back and just list the SWV medley that I wrote for A&T. I will go back and listen to it because I'm like, I mean, it's not hard, but there was just, I don't know, it was something about it that just really spoke, and I love that particular piece. So I'm like, man, I wrote that. And it sounds pretty damn good. Now, I mean, obviously there are great things out there, but that's one that I always go back to, you know. I won't say it's the best arrangement, but it's
I was gonna say Cybil has an arrangement of Fine China that made me almost want to like throw like a shoe at her. We was in a arrangers battle. I was like, God damn, Cybil. And I felt like it was set up for us to be, we were matched against each other. I was like, don't do that. That's messed up. Because we have a similar taste in music. Like we could talk about music back and forth, just me and Cybil back and forth all day. Man, she had this breakdown in there. I almost threw a shoe. I was like, damn, I'm about to throw the shoe at her. But that would be like assault. And I want to hear another arrangement like this. I want to pick her brain about it, so I can't hit her. That would just be rude. But Cybil got a cold arrangement of Fine China that is the best one I've heard. Even when it was like on and popping and everybody was after it, I was like, nah, y'all ain't heard that Cybil, that Dash Clark arrangement. So I was like, that's a cold pen. What's your
bless you?
It's cold.
She Knows by Charles Connor. Charles Connor got a good one. He did a She Knows back in 15. What was it? 18 after whenever She Knows came out. Charles Connor did a good one.
I was gonna say, what's your best arrangement? What is your best arrangement, like that you feel that you put pen to paper?
2000. Is This the Way by Jill Scott. And that was after I took a little impromptu arranging seminar with Lindsay Sargent at Precision Band Camp down here in Atlanta. I sat and wrote that one like with the next day. And that's probably still my most popular arrangement to this day. And that's going on 25 years.
I think for me, it's probably an arrangement it hasn't been played yet, but I think Cherry Pie by Sade. It's either Cherry Pie by Sade or Razzmatazz.
You gotta have a cold pen to hit some Sade, because it's gotta be nuanced. It's gotta feel like Sade. You know, you can't do that with dynamics. You just gotta know how to orchestrate. Like, because nobody want to hear Sade yelling at you. That just kills the whole vibe of Sade. So right. I'm interested in that for real.
And some of them chords, just I sat there and racked my brain a little bit trying to figure out some of those chords. Especially, there's a part where it's just like the chords, and it's just and trying to figure out and orchestrate and voice those chords to make it sound like the song and make it full at the same time. It racked my brain for a little bit, but I figured it out.
I got two.
I think for me, what I said it was that What's Love Got to Do with It, the one that Jackson State played back in 2011. And I got one that I hadn't released yet. It's Brian McKnight's One Last Cry. I hadn't let it go yet. So yeah, so when it comes out, y'all gonna know. And so I mean, I got a bunch of them that's unreleased, but if I had to say one that's already been played, because people tend to like Taxi, but it's okay. But
Taxi was cool.
I appreciate it, brother, but I gotta say that What's Love Got to Do with It, and we gonna. Cause I had a lot of hits in 2010 too, but I'm sticking with What's Love Got to Do with It for right now.
What about you, Shaw? Or Cybil, you got muted first.
I guess as far as arrangements that someone has actually played, because there are a lot that are on the computer that I love. The Champagne Life, even though I don't think we really got it all the way together, but that was a joy to hear. And then Tell Me by Belle Biv DeVoe, that's a signature now with Hillside. It was actually orchestrated with trombones in mind. That was the year that trombones were the strongest in the band, so they were the only ones with a melody. Everybody else had the chords and harmony, so it was so thick and lush and sounded so balanced. I love it. I tell them to play it all the time. They like, Miss Haskins, please, why do we have to play it again? I'm like, no, I have to hear that. So I would say those two.
I write a lot of slow songs, and they're really hard to pick from. And it is, people often say this, you know, that's my bread and butter, you know, as far as arranging goes. Somebody mentioned earlier, Be Ever Wonderful. Who was that? Number one contender at Be Ever Wonderful. We played that Honda a few years ago. I really, you know, I think as far as you know, it hits all the things. It hits the complexity, the dynamics, the you know, every part is heard at some point in time throughout the piece. It's really those
head south on Greenmead Road, then turn left onto Greens Lane.
Okay.
That's
Siri one on range too.
Nah, that's my GPS checking my clock. Ballads are always, I feel like ballads just really stretch a pen. And like, I'm not surprised, like, people are saying, you know, it's a ballad. I actually like writing show music. Like, I like writing show music from top to bottom, because a couple of years ago, we got hit by our athletic commissioner with these egregious times. Like, your show had to be less than 7 minutes. And I remember like everybody being like up in arms about that. Like, we can't do no show in less than 7 minutes, top to bottom, with everything on the field. I said, yeah, you can. And I started learning how to write kind of in that DCI format of something that doesn't stop, because they don't do stop and go in DCI. And to get 7 minutes to happen, you can't have all those transitions and cadences in between stuff. You just can't. So I wrote a Bobby Brown and Whitney Houston medley show that kind of, one, I liked it because I liked what I did with percussion. Like, it was the most creative I'd ever gotten with percussion and experiment with field. But that was like my best show. Like, I did it top to bottom, fanfare all the way down to the end. Ballad, I would say, is one I did a Out on a Limb a long time ago, because Tina Marie is like my favorite. That was my favorite arrangement. But I'll say Stranger in My House was my best one, because I just really thought about placement a lot. I thought about placement and voicing a lot. And color, that was the first time I really thought about color all the way through and through. And that kind of less is more approach, instead of putting every counter melody known to man. I did a lot of passing off of stuff. And that was probably my best one.
I made that face when you said Out on a Limb, because I did an arrangement for Talladega some years ago. I never want to hear that song again ever in my life. So that's why I made that face.
No, I get it, because it became like one of those ballads that was overdone, which is why I never gave it out, because it was kind of like no one was ever gonna have a better one, because everybody was tired of hearing it. So I don't know.
The fact that you did the whole song, it makes it, I think, because fan version had been played a lot, but the fact that you took the time and did the whole song, what made yours so unique. You know what I'm saying? So I get it, though.
Well, I have, according to Siri, 55 minutes to get to the other side of the state for a concert. I'm gonna make it though. It's like our report time. So this has been one of my favorite shows. This because it's so much information on the screen. There's so many people who got their own way, but y'all I feel like y'all do it with integrity. I'm gonna say it that way. And shout out to the big names and the people who have made arranging popular, to a point where people want to do it. And it's not something that people are going to JW Pepper or these stock arrangements that don't quite encompass what it is that we do and want to hear. But at the same time, I feel like I just wish we can impart that to the next generation. With fidelity. And I don't know if we're there yet. I think we just get looked at as we old as hell, even though Aaron looks like a newborn baby. But I just think that, these old people that don't know, and just kind of ending the Paul Adams and the Sanford O'Neills and the Sarge and all these people who had to fight through respect from counterparts that didn't look like them and got stuff published. That's a big deal. And it kind of broke my heart. Paul Adams had that YouTube. See, Siri thinks I'm talking to. Shut up, iPhone. I hate these iPhones.
Hey, Krystal, can I say something real quick? It's to be short. Hey, yeah. And I've talked to Charles Connor about this, and you said something about, for people like JW Pepper and all these arrangers publishing who don't recognize what we. How about you guys? Let's get a committee together or some type of panel together, and let's try to present what we do at a big conference like the Midwest or something like that. Or either we can start at the HBCU consortium, because they look for people. I actually submitted to actually do it. I forgot. I think I called it So You Think You Can Arrange or something like that. I called it something square like that. And but I don't know if some of you remember 2 years ago or right before the pandemic when I posted that, they rejected it. But, and I had Dr. Carrie Simon, shout out to her. She was able to look at what I did and she was able to fix, assist me with, the next application that I'm probably gonna submit after this Midwest. Let's put a panel together, and a lot of us can go and kind of share ideas. And of course, we got to constantly keep throwing out there, the copyright. Make sure your school is up under the BMIs and the ASCAPs and all that to protect us. But let's get a committee or some kind of panel, put it together, and let's try to present this. So if we go on their level with it, to be a little bit more accepting to it, because now they have an understanding on what we do versus just looking at us as a bunch of gyrating and overblowing bands. So what they say, right? Because we got some ensembles we got some bands out here who don't do that, and they actually compete. Aaron them is in a whole nother conference now, so they have to do Tennessee State. They in a whole nother conference, So if we go mainstream and put what we do, maybe they'll get an understanding of it.
Okay, so my comment about the overblowing thing, it ain't just us; they do it too. Southern University had
bro. But it's this hand versus this side of the hand. Come on, man, let's be real.
Southern University had a whole fifth quarter against Troy, and they was blowing. Look at Carolina Crown. Look at their warm up. They blowing. So they just, I just hate that the overblowing part. They
don't call it overblowing. They call it playing full. We have to speak their language, brother. That's just what it is. If we present, because if y'all sit back and think about it,
you said you gonna be quick. You lied to me, man.
No. I'm trying to speak with Kieta right fast. Listen, like all of us play schools that played against PWIs during football season, and when our band go into their territory, their audience love what we do. They even try to do it, So if we kind of present what we do to their environment, they'll probably be a little bit more receptive because they have a better understanding on how we think or how we doing things, while we also trying to gain experience and get on their level. It's a back and forward type deal, man. I'm done. Please don't say nothing that's gonna make me rebuttal.
I know. I just don't want my husband gonna yell at me. You gonna get me in trouble, because he gonna be like, you said you gotta leave. But one, I'm all for conferences and presenting stuff to the masses. Like, I'm for it because that's how we educate people. We not just counterparts that don't look like us, our own, for real, like our own. So I'm for it. Like, at the consortium, I think that would be like ideal, because there are a lot of young kids that go there. There are a lot of college students that go to the consortium. High school students go to the consortium. So hearing that, it's not just opening up finale or really for them MuseScore and putting down what you hear. It's like there's a science to it. And so I'm for a panel. I sign off on I endorse a lot of conference proposals, and that's another plug. If you want to get your proposals in some of these conferences, back to that, I think somebody said earlier, you got to have the right person endorse it. Like, you got to have somebody who will endorse it. But I'm willing to put, my money where my mouth is, or whatever, however it goes, for something like that to happen, because I think it's important. With that being said, I have to go, which means y'all have to go. First of all, thank y'all for coming on the show. I thought it was a rich conversation. If you haven't already, subscribe to the Passionate Network, please do. We got Talk That happens Wednesday nights. Secondary sessions. We have good educational talks, and we don't always agree, but we always respect each other. And this is just another side of the coin, another flip side of the coin. Diary of a Lady Band Director doesn't mean that we hate men all day long. Like, that would be stupid. It's just from a different perspective. So shout out to the HBCU experience. Get that book. A lot of good historical information is gone in that book. Go buy a copy of Tonal Harmony. There's first edition, second edition of the HBCU experience. Shout out to Christy Walker and the team. Tonal Harmony, hold that joint up. Get that workbook, like Kieta said, and get to work and get your fingers off that mouse and read something. Read about voicing. Anyway, thank y'all for coming out. Diary of a Lady Band Director. Off the Cuff episode 12 is fini. Thank y'all.
Good job.
Thank you. All right, we got ball out. Right, we got ball out.